Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's story. It's Saturday, and this video today, it's going to include some data that some may find offensive, but that's okay. You guys are used to it, and you like data and cold hard truths. What I'm trying to do is identify where we are going from here, up, down, sideways, or which assets are going to go up, down, sideways. And we'll look at a little bit of history. We'll look at some tokenomics, some compendium scores, and so much more, and talk about some of the September rain that's about to fall down too. So let's jump in. Thank you as well to Sean Donnelly and TNT Tesla and everybody else for coming. I see you all out there. This story is called Pain or Gain. First of all, not financial advice, just a guy on the internet who loves doing this, by the way. 7 days a week, always be here for you, no matter what. The crypto market over the last 7 days, however, we survived. After the sky falling, after the end of the world, guess what? Yes, Bitcoin's up 1% for the last 7 days. ETH up 0.71%. Solana up 1.19%. XRP a little bit of dark green because the lawsuit was filed, and then some other red stuff. Cardano red, Litecoin red, Polkadot red, Avalanche red, Binance red. We'll talk about some of those names as well in the upcoming minutes. But I want to spend a little bit of time on Bitcoin first, because that drives everything. And we'll look at some quarterly returns. And a shout out to Chewy for the inspiration. This is Bitcoin quarterly returns as we are in this season. Now, I decided to take this graphic and doctor it so we know exactly where we stand. Now, when we do that, if we go back in history, obviously 2012, 2013 bled into it. That was a bull run. 2016, 2017 bull run. Remember, some bull runs typically last 2 years, but they can be volatile. Then we have 2020, 2021. We had a lot of weird stuff happen in 2020, especially in Q1 with C19. That took it down minus 11%. If it wasn't for C19, we'd probably be green in that first box. Now, where we are today, you can see we had a bonker Q1 as up 69% and down 12% for Q2. And so far in Q3, we are down 3.4%. I do believe this will turn positive because Q3 runs, guess what, until the end of September. And I do believe Q4 will be extremely green. And that is my forecast right now. So for those of you who are afraid, or for those of you who think the bull market is over, no. We are probably a little over halfway done. But there's always that small chance that we could last forever, given the perpetual bid from the ETFs. We'll talk a bit about those in a minute, too. Let's look at some other news as well. And by the way, I will be breaking down these quarterly returns with estimates based on history. And somebody did ask me a question today. They were talking about diminishing returns. I don't think we're going to have diminishing returns this cycle for the following reasons. The perpetual bid from the ETFs. Bitcoin is now, and crypto is a new dedicated asset class. And three, it's harder than ever before. It's very scarce. So you put all that together, I don't see diminishing returns, despite the fact it is a bigger asset class. Anyway, more on that later next week. This is Bitcoin Dominance and John Ireland Tilestone. Everybody check out John Ireland Tilestone. Thank you for coming. Bitcoin Dominance has hit its high watermark for this run. We're up at 56.61%. So for those of you who like dominance, it's up there. But remember, you're looking at a very mixed bag. 98% of crypto's trash. Yes, Bitcoin is strong. Other things have been very weak, like ETH too, which helps propel the Bitcoin dominance. So bear that in mind as well. Let's look at liquidation levels. Where are we going next? This is the little chart that I'm sharing more often these days because you can clearly say, well, liquidation has all been cleared out to the left of where the price is right now, circa $61,059. So going to the left, they're not going to hunt much. But if they go to the right, yes, they will. Therefore, I do believe next target is 61,500 for Bitcoin and maybe higher. It is, of course, the weekend. And Sunday is pump day. Sometimes that happens on Saturday. We shall see. Markets are still a little bit edgy. We are still in the summer. It's August. People are on vacation. Volumes are low. But again, 61.5, I think, is the next target for this asset. Also, this is a little bit of what happened over the past 7 days, and it was a rocky day, rocky week. But the derivatives markets had huge volumes of long positions that were forced to close. and to the tune of about $365 million. And that includes a mix of things, about 300 million, 290 million, I think, is from the long side, about 90 million for the short side. So people got clobbered both ways. So it was very, very rough week for those Bitcoin liquidations. And overall, across the whole crypto class, I think $1 billion was lost in liquidations. So be careful with leverage out there, everybody. Also, this is probably the chart of the day that I will share and talk about. This is from Crypto Quant. And there's a couple of lines on this that I want to draw your attention to. First of all, you have the first part is the green line, the gray line up top, sorry. That's the total sell side liquidity, all exchanges. And then pink is the permanent holder demand 30-day balance change. You can see that's going up and to the right. That is now at literally a 6 or 7 year high. Permanent holder demand. That is wallets that are long-term holders stacking more. Now, what's most interesting about this chart, the black line, of course, is Bitcoin price. What's most interesting is the blue line you can see there. You can see the pink and the blue converging. Now, the blue line is the liquidity inventory ratio, and it's measured in months. And this suggests that more Bitcoin is being moved out of exchanges and into self-custody, reducing the amount for sale. And the trend is driven by increased demand from new market participants, like the new ETFs, which I told you would shake up a lot of the on-chain stuff, and they are locking Bitcoin into wallets with no history of selling. BlackRock has never sold so far since January 11th. Now, when you look at this, and if this number is correct, this liquid inventory ratio, it suggests there's less than a month of liquid inventory, i.e. Bitcoin available for sale, to fill the bags and satisfy the demand of the pink. What happens when these two converge? Then there'll be some fireworks. I'm not saying it's going to happen. You know, every owner of Bitcoin has a price at which they will sell. Some people might sell at 90, 100, 120, 150, 170, who knows where. There'll always be new stuff coming onto the market as price goes up, and that's how markets work. But this is very interesting. Shout out to CryptoQuant as well. Also, we had record inflows into HODLer addresses. This is the group that literally, they're called accumulation addresses. Thank you, The Great Escape. They stack. And we had a record inflow into these addresses. I've covered it, I think, 2 or 3 times this week so far. This is stunning and staggering. In addition, we have a new type of whale. We got now old whales and new whales. This is fun. Here is a graphic of the new versus old. Now, this is realized cap. A reminder quickly, realized cap is a metric that represents the value of all Bitcoins at the price that they were last moved. And it gives you a very accurate picture of market valuation compared to the market cap. Market cap is like the number in circulation times the price. It's a bit crude, especially considering so many are lost. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, if you imagine the true realized cap of Bitcoin, it's a lot less than $1.2 trillion or 1.1 trillion, whatever it is right now. But I do want to point out the new whales, the purple. This area in purple indicates the contribution of new whales to the realized cap, and it shows a significant increase over time, especially since the beginning of this year. And you all know why. It's because of the ETFs. And these new investors or entities are becoming increasingly more important. In fact, they now have a lot more of the realized cap than the old whales. And the old whales is the orange. They are the realized cap by old whales. These are the long-term hodlers. And some of them have bought and held for a long time. Therefore, the price doesn't change. So if you have somebody buying 10 Bitcoin at $10,000, that's the amount of realized cap, is that amount of Bitcoin times the price that they bought it at, and it stays put. And the old whales, which is the orange color here, the trend is steady Eddie, but not for the purple. So keep an eye on this as well. And speaking of the purple, check this out. They now hold, purple being the ETFs, they now hold 920,000 Bitcoin, nearly 1 million Bitcoin. That's about 4.66% of the total amount a lot higher if you take into account lost coins, which I do. And the value of these on-chain holdings is about $56 billion. So again, it has been quite a stunning year so far. A lot has changed, and we are not over yet. Remember, Morgan Stanley have just unleashed 15,000 advisors that are going to start shilling Bitcoin next week for us. Thanks, Morgan Stanley. Keep up the good work. So a lot of new money is on the way and coming in. But there's also another little change as well. We had a little bit of a Bitcoin shakeout by Cohort. It's also from CryptoQuant. And it's a cool little chart that shows you some of the actual action. And most of the coins sold in the last 30 days were purchased in December 2023 at 41K. So somebody bought a big bag at 41K and decided to sell at about 65K, 60K. And the average age of the coins being sold is 140 days. And they were bought at about, where they were sold, they sold at about 64K. And right now, some of those still holding that bought at the 41K level are still in profit. But some that bought at 64K, they are in loss. So there's a bit of a weird shakeout there as well. Thank you as well, Mr. Mike, for coming. And everybody out there in the audience. So it's just weird stuff that you can read. One of the things that's completely fascinating to me about Bitcoin is you can see all the movements, all the wallets. It's completely transparent, and you can track a lot of cool stuff to be able to make better educated decisions. And so far, all of this points to number go up, I'm afraid. So this is an area of gain for the space. And shout out to JVS, James Van Stratton. He says, fees are at cycle lows. Hash rate near all-time highs. By the way, a lot of people believe price follows the hash. So if that's true, we're going up because hash is at all-time highs. And Bitcoin price is lower than when we started the actual Bitcoin halving back in April 11th, I think it was. Q2 earnings are out of the way, and we had a bit of a poor Bitcoin performance. But now people are bearish, and this is a head-scratcher for JVS because he's bullish on the space. And another proof point that people are bullish for Bitcoin is the majority here are actually long. Shout out to Sanjay for sharing this chart today. The majority are long versus shorts, but that is in contrast to Ethereum and Solana, where the majority are short, highlighted by the pink for those two assets and green for Bitcoin. And you always want to see that kind of balance, even though it's kind of close, like 480 million versus 510. That edge gives the edge to the bulls. And that's where the bullish bets are being placed. And that shows us the price is probably going to go up from here. As with all the other stuff I just showed you, that will give you that same information too. Now, this is a little bit of stunning information. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever believe this would happen. This was not on my bingo card for 2024, that gold would outperform Ethereum with an Ethereum ETF. Staggering news. If you look at this chart here, you can see a couple of lines. This is from Econometrics. NVIDIA up 113%, Meta 43%, 45%, and Bitcoin is up the same amount as Meta, 45%. Gold 19%, and Ethereum is only up 18%. Google 17, Apple 14, Nasdaq 11, Amazon 9, Microsoft 8. Really? That is kind of bizarre. Now, Ethereum, it's shocking in a bull market that it has underperformed gold. But hey, it was particularly hard hit by the correction, by Jump Crypto selling, and of course the Grayscale Ethereum Trust selling as well. But many believe it will recover as well. But that is not a good result so far this year. And I'm sure the ETH maxis aren't too happy about that. There is a little bit of a non-chain metric, though, that I dug up this morning as well to see what's going on with the chain. And this is the number of active addresses from into the block. And on the monthly, network activity on the monthly, and you can see the trend is clearly going down. They had a peak high in March 2024. Since then, it's been dropping off. And that is not necessarily a good sign of activity on the chain. Now, this is another bit of startling news. Polymarket, which is now the place where people go to bet on stuff. The question is, when is the new Ethereum all-time high? This was staggering. $500,000 is bet at 80% chance that there will be no all-time high in 2024 for Ethereum. 5% think yes. And 5% think yes in Q3. I doubt it somehow because you have to get to about 5K. And Q4, 18%. So that is pretty staggering. And those should all technically add up to 100%. I don't know why they don't. But anyway, maybe something's wrong with these numbers. But this is from Polymarket. Check it out yourselves. Live data. Now we're getting into the crypto cycle. This is where everybody's asking when alt season. And this is a fun chart as well. Just to remind everybody, from In Bitcoin We Trust Substack. And I am a subscriber, by the way. But it talks about how Bitcoiners create bull markets, and then bull markets create poop coiners, and then poop coiners create bear markets, and then bear markets create Bitcoiners. I thought it was a very interesting perspective. But remember, do not be in the poop coins. Very few altcoins are good. Most, we're talking 98, 99% are bad, and we're going to talk about some metrics right now. This is a cool little study done by Justin Bonds. And what he did was he put together kind of like a blockchain qualification for 2024 for him to even consider a blockchain. And of course, you can see here an X beside Bitcoin and Ethereum, but that's because it fails one of the 4 tests. And remember, Bitcoin is a store of value, so therefore I say it gets away with it. So it's a feature, not a bug. But the 4 things he looks at is scalability, and he counted all chains that are capable of exceeding 1,000 max theoretical TPS. Then he looked at programmability. He counted all the chains that have a Turing complete virtual machine. Then for on-chain governance, he counted all the chains that have formalized on-chain voting systems, even if they are still at an early stage of development. And then he talked about permissionlessness. He made it a binary option, unlike other factors that exist. And you could look up the individual critiques he did for all those different chains. But when you look at this, there's very few that qualify. Solana's there, Toncoin's there, Tron, Avalanche, Near, ICP, Aptos, Sui, Phantom, Say, Elrond, EOS, Tezos. But the rest do not score. And the question is why. And by the way, he did say, even if an asset has a green check mark, it's not an endorsement for that asset. It's just for these 4 criteria. But let's dig into this a little bit further because I thought it was an interesting thing because this popped up. We talk about token unlocks in Okta every single Tuesday, and they provide tools for detailed token comparisons. And their data indicates that TIA holds the highest value locked for insiders at approximately $3 billion worth. And Sui and Say are also there too in the chart, and each have around over $1 billion locked. But this is interesting because guess what's going to happen? Ta-da! September and October, it's going to be raining tokens. Say will be raining down 1.47, call it $1.5 million dollars worth a day on you, starting in 5 days. TIA will be dropping $1 billion in late October, and Sui 55 million unlocks on the 1st of September. So this is from DeFi Mochi. Be careful when this happens because the price suppression will be very extreme. We've seen that time and time again over the years. So let's look at some crypto compendium information too that I think is important. We have like 69 different data points across all chains, and we can compare them in a flash using a system we call the IA engine. Shout out to the dev team that keep this thing up and running. First of all, we are halfway through the bull market. Sui is down nearly 60% from the all-time highs. Celestia, 72%. And Say, 73%. That is not good. And you know what I say. If you're between 60 to 80% away from your all-time high, halfway through the bull, it's an extremely negative sign. And now it's going to rain down tokens like there's no tomorrow from here. So be careful. And let's look at another thing too, that there's more bleed to come. The tokenomics, by the way, crypto compendium scores for all these tokens is complete garbage. But if you look at the percentage that is circulating versus the max supply, Sui, 26%, Celestia, 19%, and Sei, 32%. So Sei is the least worst, but it's still terrible. And that means to the end of time, it's going to keep down raining tokens. By the way, they all, first historical data, all in, call it summer 2023. So they're all kind of a year old or so. And be careful if you're holding these things. And just as a reminder, by the way, there's a lot of people that still cling on, and I did warn you there'd be a lot of data that could offend some people here, but I'm not in this to make friends. I'm here to save souls, if that even makes any sense. I hope it does. Anyhow, this is a little bit of history. This is Polkadot chart, actually on the ATR model. And when we first built the ATR, I used to call, it would have a composite score called a zombie coefficient. And believe me, we're like literally bottom, just a third above layer 0, which means dead. And that's where Polkadot is, okay? It is down 92% over the last 1,000 days. This is not coming back. That's why they now pay shillers to shill this thing. All right, if you look at the chart where I have the big green arrow, that's where you ditch an asset if you have it and you walk away and you never look back, because hope is not a strategy. And some things never come back. That's a real part of the story today. This is the part of the pain. Don't be holding on to this pain. All right, I want that to be very clear. Now, back to some better news. Let's talk about this. This is the drainage out of the Ethereum into Solana. Since the ETH ETF launched, $100 million left the ETH ecosystem and flowed into Solana. Less than 60 million actually flowed back. So again, the black hole is still sucking everything in. That's also reflected in prices and pair charts too. Also, Solana stablecoin supply surges 156% just so far this year, and hopefully it'll reclaim its all-time high of about 4 billion. And at this rate, it'll do it in the next 1 to 2 months, according to Tom Wan as well out there. So a lot of this has been driven by the PayPal, PYUSD or PSYUSD, whatever they call that stablecoin. Huge amount of demand for that on Solana too. Also, in some more flipping news, JITO flips Uniswap and fees. Uniswap used to be the biggest fee maker in all of crypto after Ethereum. And now a little dApp on Solana is flipping Uniswap and fees, up $2.18 million in 24 hours. Bonkers to even think about. Crazy. And SOLAlts, despite the week we had and everything that happened, we're beginning to see little inklings of alt season arising right now. These are some of the SOLAlts from AIP, from Altcoin Investing Picks. Sol only up 8% over the last 30 days. WIF down, Bonk down. It looks like the meme season is dead. But Jupe up 10%. HNT 63%. Radium 3%. JITO 34%. And Orca 53%. Orca is now doing more than Radium. I own both Radium and Orca, by the way. Little position in my SOLAlts. So this is extremely bullish sign. These things can move fast. And yes, they got beaten to hell. They did good for Q1, sucked in Q2. Now they're rebounding in Q3. And again, that's just the way of the markets. Let's look at some other good news for all of us. Global liquidity is up. This is from the Rational Root. We now hit a new all-time high in global liquidity. And what he does is he aggregates all of the liquidity across all the banks, like the Fed, European Central Bank, People's Bank of China, Bank of Japan, Bank of England, etc., etc. And we just hit a new all-time high. This is going to go into high gear, ladies and gentlemen. Crypto, the last outpost. I see you out there. Thank you for coming. This, everybody, will float all boats. Of course, some more than others. Those boats with anchors, with big zombie coefficients, maybe not so much. But the winners, yes, it will. And a little piece of advice here. This is the week that cable died. We're finished with the crypto stories for now. Paramount Global took a $6 billion write-down in its cable business. And Discovery, Warner Brothers, did a $9 billion write-down. If you still have cable, that's when you pay for television subscriptions, cable providers, satellite, whatever, you're in the minority. Less than 40% now have cable TV. Do not have that poison fed to your families or your children. And your kids are probably watching YouTube anyway. They wouldn't be watching cable TV. But just remember, it's dead and their lives are dying. And just as a streaming example, I don't want this to be political. It's for illustration purposes only in case people get upset. I want that to be very clear. But here, this is from Clandestine. Super Soul Man, good to see you, buddy. Fox News is the most watched cable network with an average of 1.85 million viewers. MSNBC, 1.2 million. CNN, 582,000. By the way, CNN's dying. The communist news network is on its way out. It's good to see because they're full of crap. And Tucker's interview with Putin had 50 million views on X within 5 hours. So it's how everything has changed. People are consuming content in a very different way today than ever before. Save your 50, 60, $100 a month on your cable, cut it, and have your kids and yourself read books or consume educational information wherever you can. So thank you all for coming, everybody. Hope you enjoy. I've got to go back to work now, work on the Q&A for tomorrow. I'll be live at noon Pacific, which is 22 hours from now. And all the top questions of the week, some of them are really burning issues. We'll cover them tomorrow in 22 hours. Thank you as well. Das Fam 4. Appreciate you all. Happy weekend, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you as well to the mods in the chats and everybody for coming. And Preston's back too, American Beijinger. Thank you.